We believe that access to sport is a right that all kids hold, but oftentimes community members don't have access to the space or the platform to convene together to address these issues as a community. Launched on the first day of Black History Month, Barriers to Believe has been a 4-week-long journey, shared in real time as we took our first major step in expanding our racial equity and access in youth sports task force. From a singular community initiative in Oakland to a national effort in low-income communities of color across the country. The month began with the exciting news that we would be launching the first extension of the task force in Southeast San Diego. I got the chance to travel to that community and meet with key stakeholders and members of the San Diego Task Force, including Jeff Harper Harris, to discuss challenges and ambitions they have for the task force.
I dealt with kids homeless. I dealt with kids in juvenile system, foster care, right? So we don't have access to what helps the kids, the student all around. We don't go to class, they go to class, right? We just give them a form. I give you a form to go play. I give you a safe place to get better. But we don't have those safe places, right? So why can't this community have the same type of resources as north of 805?
Having put a call out to communities of color all over the country, we were excited to hear from Rashida Ford, director of Pop Inc., who was interested in extending this dialogue as it pertains to her home city of Baltimore. We set about discussing some of the equity issues facing that community.
When you look at Baltimore, right, I think where you live and the community that you are a part of determines the access that you have for sports, but then also the access that you have just towards the basic things you need to live, right? So we're looking at food deserts, we're looking at, poor quality program, low funded programs, no programs at all, to an adjacent community that can be affluent, right, and have access to everything that they need.
Being out on the East Coast presented the opportunity to make contact with the Philadelphia Youth Sport Collaborative to gain a better understanding of the sport equity landscape and the ambitions of the community leaders in Philly.
Now what we're starting to see is city leaders also understanding and seeing the value of sports, which I think have been huge for our city. Is we now have people who have seats on the city council who also serve as high school basketball coaches in our city. So when you see that commitment of the leaders in our city, I think that has helped us in a tremendous way to kind of move the needle forward as it pertains to the value of sports and the development that it can add to a young person's life.
As we close out the month, we brought our collective together over Zoom and began the magic of sharing the work ahead of us.
We got to talk more, we got to come together. We got to define these terms, equity. What does that really mean? And really lift and support who's out there doing the work.
While there are many systemic barriers, what we have set out to do with this month's initiative is to tell our story so that communities across the country can start to identify the strategies to remove those barriers of doubt, with the belief that when community leaders come together, we can achieve equity for our kids.